The Jade Emperor Shen Yuanlong had learned long ago that power was a lonely throne. For 15 years, he had ruled the sprawling Qianlong Empire with an iron fist wrapped in silk. His decisions carved mountains, his decrees turned rivers, and his word could elevate a peasant or execute a prince. Yet tonight, in the velvet darkness of his private chambers, he felt the weight of his crown like a stone around his neck. Beyond his palace walls, the empire stretched across 5 kingdoms, from the frozen peaks of the northern wastes to the southern Jade Sea. 300 million souls looked to him for guidance, prosperity, and protection. And he was failing them. The drought had entered its 3rd year. The western provinces whispered of rebellion. The Council of Elders spoke in riddles and prophecies, reminding him daily of the ancient words inscribed in the Temple of First Light. When the dragon sits too long upon his throne, the serpent shall rise from beneath. She will wear the face of temptation, and through her embrace, empires shall either ascend to heaven or descend into ash. Shen had dismissed such superstitions for years. He was a man of strategy and reason, trained in warfare and statecraft, not mysticism. But lately, the prophecy haunted him like a ghost he couldn't exorcise. Tonight, seeking respite from another day of impossible decisions, he had retreated to the Forbidden Archives, a labyrinth of ancient texts beneath the palace that only the emperor could enter. Here, among scrolls that predated his dynasty by 1,000 years, he hoped to find something his advisors had missed. A solution. A strategy. Anything. What he found instead would change everything. The scroll was unlike any Shen had seen before. The parchment felt warm to the touch, almost alive, and the characters seemed to shift in the candlelight. It spoke of the Serpent folk, an ancient race that had ruled before humanity, beings of wisdom and power who could take human form. According to the text, they hadn't vanished as legends claimed. They had merely descended into the depths, waiting. The serpent remembers, the scroll read. The serpent watches. The serpent knows the true name of power. A sound made him look up, the whisper of silk against stone. She stood at the entrance to the archives, though he had heard no door open. In the flickering candlelight, she was breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure. Her hair fell like midnight water past her waist, and her eyes, those eyes held depths no human should possess, with vertical pupils that caught the light like polished jade. She wore a simple green robe that seemed to shimmer with its own inner luminescence, as if woven from moonlight and shadow. But it was her smile that paralyzed him, knowing, ancient, and impossibly sad. "You've been searching for answers in all the wrong places, Emperor Shen Yuanlong," she said, her voice like wind through bamboo. "The drought that plagues your lands, the unrest in your provinces, the prophecy that haunts your dreams, they are all connected. And they all lead to me." Shen's hand moved instinctively to his sword, but something stopped him. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was the exhaustion of 15 years on the throne. Or perhaps it was the way she looked at him, not with the fear and calculation he saw in every other face, but with recognition, as if she saw not the emperor, but the man he'd been before the crown changed him. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice steadier than he felt. "I am called Lianhua," she replied, taking a step closer. "And I am what your prophecies warned you about. I am the serpent's daughter." The temperature in the archives seemed to drop. Shen should have called the guards. Should have drawn his blade. Should have done anything but what he did next. "Prove it," he said. Lianhua's smile widened, revealing teeth that were just slightly too sharp. She raised her hand, and before Shen's eyes, her skin rippled. Scales emerged, emerald green shot through with gold, spreading from her fingertips up her arm like living jewelry. They gleamed in the candlelight, beautiful and terrifying. Then, as quickly as they'd appeared, they vanished, leaving only smooth human skin behind. "The prophecy speaks of destruction," Shen said carefully, forcing himself to meet her in human gaze. "It says you will bring my empire to ruin." "No," Lianhua corrected, moving closer still. Now he could smell her, jasmine and rain and something older, something that reminded him of the deep earth itself. "The prophecy says, I will reshape your empire. Ruin and rebirth are often indistinguishable, Emperor. The question is, which do you have the courage to choose?" For 3 nights, Shen returned to the Forbidden Archives. Each time, Lianhua was waiting. She told him things, secrets that no human should know. She revealed that the drought was not natural but caused by the Empire's own actions. Centuries ago, his ancestors had made a pact with the dragon spirits, channeling the land's natural water through vast arrays of jade conduits to irrigate the cities and feed the growing population. But the system had become unbalanced, draining the deep aquifers and angering the earth itself. Your engineers built an empire on borrowed water, Lianhua explained on the third night. Now the debt comes due. The land itself is dying beneath your cities. Then how do I fix it? Shen asked, leaning forward across the ancient table where maps and scrolls lay scattered. You don't, she said simply. Not alone. The serpent folk knew the deep ways, the old paths where water flows through the bones of the world. We could restore the balance, but it would require trust. It would require you to believe in something your scholars have dismissed as myth. It would require me to trust you, Shen said, studying her face. A creature my prophecies name as my doom. Yes, Lianhua said, meeting his gaze. It would. Silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility and danger. Why help me? Shen finally asked. What do you gain from saving my empire? For the first time, Lianhua's perfect composure cracked. Something like pain flickered across her features. My people have hidden for 1,000 years, she said softly. Driven underground by fear and hatred, hunted by those who saw us as monsters. We have watched humanity build and destroy, rise and fall, and we have remained in the darkness. But the world is changing, Emperor. The old ways are dying, and if we do not emerge now, we never will. Your empire stands at a crossroads. Help me save it, and perhaps my people can finally come home. Shen studied her for a long moment. Every instinct of caution, every lesson in strategy, every warning from the prophecy told him to refuse. To have her arrested, executed, or exiled. She was dangerous, a threat to everything he'd built. But she was also the first person in 15 years to speak to him as an equal. The first to offer not flattery or fear, but truth. What do you need? He asked. Lianhua's smile could have lit the dark archives. Your trust. Your time. And... She hesitated. Your willingness to see beyond what you've been taught to believe. That night, Emperor Shen Yuanlong made a decision that would reshape his empire. He agreed to secret meetings with Lianhua. He agreed to learn the old ways of the serpent folk. He agreed to challenge the prophecy that had haunted his reign. What he didn't agree to, what he never intended, was to fall in love. But the heart, as the old poets knew, makes its own prophecies. The meetings became regular, always in the dead of night when even the palace guards dozed at their posts. Lianhua would appear like a dream made flesh, and together they would pore over ancient maps of the empire's waterways, charts of jade conduit systems, and texts written in languages Shen had never seen. She was a patient teacher. When he struggled to understand the concept of earth flow, the serpent folk's name for the natural circulation of water through deep stone, she pressed his palm to the cold floor. Close your eyes, she instructed. Feel. At first, Shen felt nothing but his own foolishness, kneeling on stone with his eyes closed like a supplicant. But Lianhua's hand remained on his, her skin cool and smooth, and gradually he became aware of something else. A vibration. A rhythm. Like a heartbeat, but impossibly slow, impossibly deep. The earth breathes, Lianhua whispered. It has veins like any living thing. Your ancestors tried to control it, to bend it to their will. But you cannot control life, Emperor. You can only flow with it. Shen opened his eyes to find her face inches from his own. In the candlelight, her vertical pupils had dilated, making her eyes appear more human, or making him see past the serpent to the woman beneath. You're staring, she said, but there was no accusation in her voice. Only curiosity. I'm trying to understand, Shen replied honestly. How can you be both serpent and woman? Which is the truth? Both, Lianhua said, pulling her hand away. Neither. Your language divides the world into categories that don't exist in nature. I am what I am, neither monster nor maiden, but something in between. Something your prophecies could never fully comprehend. The prophecies, Shen said slowly, speak of the serpent's daughter bringing either salvation or destruction. They never suggest both outcomes are possible. Because your prophecies were written by those who saw in absolutes, Lianhua said, standing and moving to a shelf of scrolls. But empires don't fall in a day, Emperor. They transform. They evolve. The Qianlong Empire you inherited will not survive, that much is certain. But what emerges from its transformation, that is still being written. She pulled down a scroll so ancient it seemed it might crumble at her touch and brought it back to their table. This, she said, unrolling it carefully, is a map of the deep ways, the network of underground rivers and water channels that exist beneath your empire. Some are natural. Some were carved by my ancestors before humanity had written language. If we can access them, redirect just 3 of these flows, we can end your drought within a season. Shin leaned over the map, his military mind already analyzing routes and possibilities. The entrance points, they're all outside the capital. Some are in rebellious provinces. Yes, Lianhua said, which means you'll need to travel. Secretly, without your army or your court knowing. Impossible, Shin said immediately. An emperor doesn't simply vanish. Then your people will die of thirst, Lianhua replied, her voice hard. And your empire will fall to civil war. Choose, Shen Yuanlong, your crown or your kingdom. She was the only person in 15 years who had dared to call him by his name alone, without title or honorific. The intimacy of it sent an unexpected shiver through him. If I do this, he said carefully, if I leave the capital under pretense of a spiritual retreat to the mountain temples, will you come with me? Someone must, Lianhua said. The deep ways respond only to serpent folk. But, she hesitated, if I am seen, if your people discover what I am, they will not accept it easily. The old fears run deep. Then we'll ensure you're not seen, Shin said, making his decision. We leave in 3 days. I'll tell my council I seek enlightenment at the Temple of First Light. A pilgrimage to understand the prophecy. A pilgrimage, Lianhua echoed, her lips curving into that mysterious smile. How appropriate. Though I wonder, Emperor, what enlightenment you truly seek. Their eyes met across the ancient map, and for the first time, Shen couldn't look away. There was something magnetic about her, not just her beauty or her strangeness, but the way she challenged him, tested him, saw him. I don't know any more, he admitted quietly. The preparations were delicate. Shen announced his pilgrimage to muted protest from his council of elders. His empress, a woman of grace and ambition whom he'd married for political alliance rather than love, accepted his departure with cool indifference. They had done their duty, producing 2 sons to secure the succession. What happened between them otherwise had long since ceased to matter. Only his personal guard, Captain Feng, seemed troubled. Your Majesty, Feng said as they made ready to depart, the western provinces grow unstable. Bandits control the mountain passes. This journey is necessary, Shen interrupted firmly. The prophecy weighs on my spirit, Captain. I must seek understanding before I can rule wisely. Feng bowed, though his eyes remained skeptical. He was a good man, loyal and brave, who had saved Shen's life in 3 separate battles. If anyone suspected the truth of this journey, it would be Feng, which is why Shen had to be careful.